Pitch to Pro is the official podcast of USL Arkansas. This will be our platform to tell our story about the club and the special place that we call home, Northwest Arkansas. This is a journey. We want to bring you along for the ride. We'll share what's going on behind the curtain, help educate the community at large about soccer, our league, and give updates on the progress of the club along the way. Together, we'll explore and unpack our journey to professional soccer, the magic that is NWA, our community, and talk all things soccer from on the pitch to behind the scenes, telling the story of our club. Pitch to Pro podcast is proudly sponsored by podcastvideos.com. Podcastvideos.com is Northwest Arkansas's premier podcast recording studio. Equipped with industry-leading equipment, the recording studio and services save you time, money, and hassle. They are dedicated to helping you create, record, and publish high-quality podcasts for your audience. Be sure to check them out today at podcastvideos.com.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Pitch to Pro podcast. I'm your host, Wes Harris, Managing Director for USL Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas's professional soccer club playing in the United Soccer League. Today, we have a really special guest, USL Arkansas co-founder and sports industry extraordinaire, Mr. Warren Smith. Warren, thank you so much for being with us today. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, brother.
Good to have you on the show. Warren, what are you drinking today? What's the beer choice here today?
Well, it's still in the middle of the day, so a little athletic brewing company, a little non-alcoholic brew that I've come to love. So
Nice.
How about you?
I'm a little bit more aggressive, even though it's the middle of the day. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, in my opinion. So I've got a little Rendezvous Junction lager, a little
That's
local
where
brew.
our supporters group will hang out.
I guarantee that's probably going to be a good spot for him right down the street from the stadium, hey? So, well, hey, listen, I really appreciate you joining us today. You've got just an incredible background and track record in the sports industry and in our league in multiple markets. You're a maven. You've done it multiple times, know the recipe for success, and we're so lucky to have you as part of our team. So I wanted to do today is just give our listeners a little bit of background, get to know you a little bit,
All right.
and help understand how, I think one of the things that you and I shared together is what we love most about this sport is, yes, it's fun on the pitch, the atmosphere, the experience, but what do these clubs really do for communities, right? And that's really what we're excited about. So give us a little bit. We'll start with kind of your backstory on how you got into the industry of sports.
Well, first of all, before we start, I have a face for radio, so I don't like doing podcasts where you're actually filming, but nonetheless, I'm here and excited to be here and excited to be here in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
I got into sports by accident. I had a very good friend of mine that was in professional sports, a minor league baseball team in Modesto, California. Tried to buy the Oakland A's and moved him to Sacramento. He's unsuccessful. Ended up moving to Pittsburgh, bought the Pittsburgh Pirates, and built PNC Ballpark. His name was Kevin McClatchy, just a great man. And one day I was asking him, hey, don't give up on Sacramento. I want to, where we both were living at the time.
Okay.
I want to take my kids to some ball games like my dad did,
Sure.
and he said, hey, I can't do it for all these reasons. And he gave me the question, changed my life. He says, why don't you do it? And I laughed because I didn't have the money. I didn't know what the heck to do.
Yeah.
But it was a question that just stuck with me, and it ultimately led to the Sacramento River Cats AAA baseball team, the most successful in all of AAA baseball. And where I got to learn from a gentleman by the name of Art Savage, who's by far the best sports executive I could have ever been affiliated with. So that was my entry into sports. And where soccer became relative was in 2004, we're asked to take over the Portland Beavers AAA baseball team, which is in bankruptcy at the time. So the league, the way it works, the league had to take it back and solve a problem. They hired us to go up there and figure it out. And so we got up there and looked at the books and as part of the executive team overseeing it, but really not on a day-to-day standpoint, but, could real simply see where they're just spending money in the wrong places, no really good strategies.
And if I understand things correctly from your story, you didn't just take over the baseball team, but this is kind of your entry point into soccer a little bit. Talk about what that team came with and what you guys kind of went, oh.
Well, yeah, so again, it was the River Cats that took it over. It wasn't Warren Smith. I was
sure.
part of the organization. And but it came with a little team called the Portland Timbers.
Just a little team.
Yep. This again reminder, this is 2004.
This is before they became what they became.
Yeah. So we got up there, and ultimately it just, in order to plan the building for baseball, we're going to have to figure this out for the mayor. And it led to us kind of, getting in and understanding the soccer community and figuring out, how we might be able to turn it around. Our staff did a fantastic job of just kind of really engaging and understanding the business, which is no different than baseball. It's just that you had fans that cared a lot more. They weren't just fans. They actually felt that they owned the team emotionally. And so you have customers like that are just banging on your door that say, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Well, what do? You actually say, well, okay, let's figure that out. And that just led to us being able to turn that around, and sold both teams to Merritt Paulson in 2007. He said he wanted to get to Major League Soccer. We thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
He bought in, for a little bit of money back then, and now the franchise is, one of the most valuable franchises in the league. It's been sold out almost from its inception.
They're one of the absolute best in terms of attendance on both the men's and the women's side. The Portland Thorns that also play in that building too. The soccer community up there is just fantastic, and you got to experience that firsthand, and kind of gave you a taste of what the sport can do, and the relationship with the soccer fan base and the community, right?
Yeah, the key component, to Merritt's credit and the team there, many of the employees that we had stayed there, and he just did a great job of kind of amplifying that,
Yeah.
And ultimately getting the people to really feel that they own that team. And but we at least laid the groundwork, and we were able to turn the attendance around and ultimately make the economics work. And wow, what a great example, right? And keep in mind that this is a USL team at the time. Well, it might have been NASL at the time, but it went through the transition in USL. That's kind of where I came in love with the not necessarily the sport, but the relationship between the fans and the brand. Which is why I love what I do.
Yeah. And you, just to build on that funny story background, you did have one game where you played soccer. Talk about that for just 2 seconds as a quick aside.
1977, 14 years old. Maybe I was 15. I don't know. I'm chasing some girl. She convinces me that I should play soccer.
Yeah.
So I'm playing American football, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to, be on the varsity team as a sophomore, and I decide not to play. So the coaches didn't like me too much, but decided to play soccer. First game of the season, first touch, first minute. The ball comes to me, right?
Yeah.
And this little kid slides into me, snaps my leg. So, and I hated the sport, man. I didn't get to play any sports that year.
It slays me every time I hear it. Yeah. Just first touch, and just that's your engagement is a broken leg. So, but all the work that you've done off the field has more than repaid the game, right? And just hopefully has built a love affair that's lasted for how many years now. So
yeah, and as Chris shares with you and with us all, is if you give back to the game, the game will give back to you largely.
Exactly.
Right? And I really appreciate the work that I've been able to do, but by no means is it me.
Yeah.
It's the team of people that we're able to put together that ultimately lead to success. And so Sacramento Republic Football Club really kind of happened. Almost another accident,
Sure.
At the time, the Sacramento Kings were about to looked like they were going to move to Seattle.
Seattle, I remember that.
The Mayor Johnson, Kevin Johnson, former NBA player, was talking to everybody in the community about what do we do for a backup,
Mm-hmm.
We talked to the A's about moving to Sacramento, which they wouldn't do. Raiders would have if we could have built them a $1.2 billion stadium, which we couldn't afford. But I came back with a plan that ultimately was copying Portland's model, and that was to build a organic team from the scratch.
Yeah.
Build it around the fan base, around their feedback, gosh, man, our team just did an incredible job. Started off with 4 matches at 23,500 per match.
You guys just set the attendance record in Sacramento just 2-3 weeks ago, I think, wasn't it?
I haven't been watching, now that I'm not long in the club, but I did go back for that celebration of, that first match playing in the stadium, and which was really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, listen, we so many things happened right. God was watching over us, and at the end, it led to really great success story. We ended up winning a championship in year one. And then all of a sudden, the Major League Soccer comes calling, and we start having a very deep conversation with them about moving up.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't have that kind of capital, so I ended up selling the club to a local group that was supposed to take it. Unfortunately, they didn't execute on it. To Major League Soccer, but the brand's still strong and kicking ass. They're top of the table this year.
Yeah.
They got a damn good team. It's going to be tough for anybody to really beat them this year.
Yeah. But it just speaks to, again, I mean, the power of when communities get behind a club, and a club does it right and gets behind a community.
Amen.
And that relationship and partnership is there, the power that can have. Because when you guys started that club, you guys were, I mean, you tell the story, you guys were like 28th or 29th on the MLS, expansion list in terms of markets. And then you have the team in place. Like you say, it's a team effort and in conjunction with the community. And you guys put together what you put together in the first couple of seasons, especially the first one, winning the championship and the attendances that you were getting. And all of a sudden now MLS is in New York, and they're looking and saying across the way, holy cow, like, okay, Sacramento, we got something here. We need to pay attention. And they started to come and knocking, and it was awarded. You guys did your job in terms of, getting to that next level, or at least offering the opportunity to do so. Unfortunately things happen, or not so unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, right?
Well, they're not out. Who knows what happened in the future? And I think the leader there, Kevin Nagel's still, doing everything he can to get there, and he might be able to do that. We don't know. But yeah, it was really kind of special because two things that happened in that community. First of all, when the Kings were about to leave, the mayor did a great job of getting people really excited about saving the Kings. So the people learned that they had a voice, and we just leaned into that, right? And just said, okay, here's what we're trying to do, which is different, but we think, we want to be additive. How can we make Sacramento an even greater place? Just happened to use the beautiful game to do that.
Amen.
And we invited people to participate. Not just from, financially, of course, but literally just help giving us ideas, making sure that we reached out to the community, having focus groups, listening sessions, talking to the soccer community, really understanding what the customers ultimately wanted. And at the end of the day, funny story was that, we were going to be playing in Hughes Stadium, which is a WBA-built, community college, where we played those first 4 matches just because we couldn't open up the stadium. But keep in mind, we had already worked out a lease and we're going to play there, but it was American football line, AstroTurf, surrounded by a track. Well, guess what our fans told us? Whatever you do, don't play around with a track with American football lines, and that's too narrow. Be true to the sport. So where the magic happened for us was our ability to build what was Bonnie Field. It's now called Heart Health Park. And it was a makeshift modular stadium that ultimately we sold out, the 8,000 seats the first year, expanded it to 11,350-ish, and sold that out, through my tenure there. I think they sold it out up until, 2018, 19, something like that. But it was a great opportunity for us to be true to the sport, to deliver for the fans on what they were looking for, but ultimately create an experience for them that wasn't just about soccer. It was about coming together as a community, and by the way, spending 2 hours together rooting for something that we all believe in.
Exactly, and that's the magic, right? That's the magic. So fantastic success in Sacramento, got that up and running, got out of it, and in thinking that somebody was potentially going to bring that to MLS, but you weren't done. You weren't done. You had a taste for it, and ended up coming to San Diego and linking up with just an absolute soccer legend in the United States and around the world in Landon Donovan. Talk to us a little bit about San Diego and how you guys got started, and maybe some differences from Sacramento and key learnings that you were able to kind of put into place there.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, after a lot of conversation with my wife, I'm not sure she wanted me to go through that again. And but we're new empty nesters and kind of looking for a little bit of a challenge and a change. And my wife loves, the warmer weather, and so everything just added up. And to have an opportunity to partner with just an incredible group of people down there, starting with Landon, just a wonderful human being, and what he is able to stand up for and ultimately hold himself accountable to is really, really, quite impressive. And then the ownership in Andrew Vasiliadis and Ricardo Campos, part of our operating team, just a group of great people. And they were trying to get to Major League Soccer. They had a vote. Build a stadium. It didn't pass. It just made sense to help that community, get to the next level. Fortunately, they had a stadium there that we could play in at the University of San Diego called Torero Stadium.
Torero, yep.
Wasn't our long-term goal, but our goal was to actually either do a modular or move into the stadium that was going to be built at the university there at the San Diego State. But it was a great place to build the brand and start the team. And man, again, I couldn't be prouder to be a part of that. Obviously, a little bit more difficult for me just going to a different community, but it also built a lot of confidence in what I am doing and what I'm doing now. And that is to help communities ultimately build something in their community around the beautiful game and do something special for their community. And in San Diego, it was amazing because, I think now that Major League Soccer is moving in, we don't know what's really going to happen to the franchise. Andrews looks like he may choose to close it, but you can see some of the differences in how we run our team versus how Major League Soccer runs theirs.
Yeah.
Ours is all community-based, building ourselves around programs like Chicano Federation, really linking up with the Hispanic community and doing things in the community that matter to people. And then making a difference. That's the coolest thing, is just not just being there, but really making a difference. And obviously, one of the biggest things that happened there was, we had two things that happened back to back. We had an African-American player, just wonderful human being, match against LA Galaxy 2. Obviously, got called the N-word. Yeah. And, Landon didn't hear it, didn't really understand it. Nobody really on the team except for a couple players heard it. And then we had a conversation after that, said, gosh, if this happens again, what are we going to do? And we're just kind of, Landon, this is your team, man, but if we're going to stand up for our values and who we are as a people, then we should probably, stand up to that. And the unfortunate thing that happened the next match was, the only openly gay player got, called a bad word, and who, again, is just a wonderful human being and just a great, great guy. And to see him go through that and to see his head sink, and it was really interesting. And I'm sitting in the stands and see Landon, trying to figure out what's going to do, and he brings the team together. Next thing you know, the team decides to walk off the field.
Walk off, yeah.
Many people thought that we were crazy for that, but you know what? It needed to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it really did help to, let's move past this stuff as human beings in our country. Let's really celebrate the diversity of our game, man. And it's the game that represents the world. And if we're going to be true to that representation, then we need to stand up. And so, really, really prideful of that and what Landon chose to do, and how Andrew supported them through that process, and how we grew as an organization through that, because it wasn't easy. And keeping in mind, this is during COVID.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Getting no revenues, it was a very difficult time, but man, just to be part of that was something special.
Yeah, it is. You bring these things up, and they are the tough conversations that as society, we need to be having and be able to have. And sport is a place that, a lot of times becomes, the beacon and first movers and the loudest in the room because of all the eyeballs on the games, on the athletes. So kudos to you guys in supporting that effort, and to Landon for speaking up and standing up for what we should all, be helping each other and standing up for our teammates. So it's kind of the underbelly of sports and things that don't talk about, especially in our sport. It's all over the world. It's not just here. So we look forward to being a sport that represents everybody and a club that lives into that. So
if I may, real quick, it kind of moving to Northwest Arkansas. I mean,
yeah.
As you know, I've been coming here since 1990. My grandmother moved here from Kansas City. And so we started making that annual trip, usually Christmas or sometimes during the summer. But then my parents moved here in 2003 to help care for her.
Yeah.
And she passed in 2018. And then we, since then I've been making, before we started this effort, I've been making, 3 or 4 trips a year. And, and I'm not sure really people really fully appreciate what has happened here. It's easy to look at the roads. It's easy to look at the infrastructure that you're building, the fact that your corporations are, still trying to fill open jobs. But really, look at the diversity that's happened. Look at your Marshallese community, your Hispanic.
Absolutely.
It's pretty interesting that 60% of the population that lives here now is from around the world.
Yep.
So you look at a sport like this, and you look at where this community is today, and not only where it is today, where it's going.
Where it's going. Yep.
From a growth standpoint, from a people standpoint, from a human being standpoint, and from the diversity of human beings. What a great, great, great opportunity for a soccer club, and really make a difference in the region. Not just to be a soccer club, but how do we make a difference? How do we actually get ingrained in ourselves?
Yeah.
And sometimes people get angry with because we're getting out on the edge and standing up for people or standing up for projects. I think the one thing I think that we're already starting to do, and kudos to you for doing this, but I mean, really, we're here to make Northwest Arkansas an even greater place to live, work, and play. We want to be the biggest cheerleader.
Right.
We want to be the ones that are celebrating that all the time. And I think today we're going to an opening of a restaurant.
We are.
A soccer bar in Bentonville. That's going to be that's going to be cool. Right?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a great place. The Botanical at 8th and A. We're coming for you, Alan and Alex. A little shout out for you guys. So, listen, you hit on exactly kind of some of what we know and love about the game, the club, and what we know we can do within the community. And, you, out of all 3 of us on the leadership team here within Chris and myself, Chris and I live here every day. You're just about there. We keep razzing you to change your tax status to Northwest
Believe me, I want
to. But, you've been actually coming here a heck of a lot longer than Chris and I have. And you, to your point, have truly been able to watch year after year. And it's even probably more pronounced because you're able to go away and then come back. And the differences are so stark versus if us being here, it's kind of like, yeah, that's been there, that's going on, that's developing. But if you're away for a time and come back, we had that. I had 4 years in Minneapolis, Minnesota when we lived there, and then we came back and it was like, oh my gosh, the difference in 4 years. But anyway, talk a little bit about, you've been here. We didn't have to sell you on Northwest Arkansas. We talked a little bit in the last episode about your introduction to Chris during COVID, and kind of how that partnership started. So we didn't have to sell you on the area. You had been coming here, but you were so excited about the area, and I know you're excited about this project, and the league was as well when we got them informed and kind of brought up to speed, right, on what NWA was and was going to become. Talk a little bit about kind of the recipe for success for a USL Championship club or soccer club. Within the community and the partnership with the community, kind of why Northwest Arkansas makes a lot of sense for you as somebody who has been there, done that in multiple markets across multiple sports, and why you're excited about this project. Because I know you are, because you wouldn't be a part of it if you weren't.
No, I'm thrilled to be a part of it. First of all, kudos to Chris for the work that he did in setting the foundation and just getting people excited about the concepts, including me, right? So,
yeah.
It's interesting, right? Like you said, I wasn't participating in, but I got to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing what we're accomplishing as a region here now. And I say we because I'm now a part of it. While I'm not going to live here on a day-to-day standpoint, as you said, I'm almost here every week, right?
You are,
so,
yeah.
So it really all starts with the experience. Okay, let's in order for us to actually create a groundswell, almost like creating a movement.
Yeah.
That we need to do a couple things. First, we need to start a relationship with people. And we started that with our listening sessions, right? We got out to various communities and started asking questions about why they love Northwest Arkansas. And wow, people love it here.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Clearly. They love their lifestyle. They love their outdoors, so much so that, they moved here for a job and they got offered a job to move and they're staying. That says a lot, right? But so that's number one. But number two is the experience. How do we create an experience that makes them want to be coming back?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and trust me, I think the one thing that really led to the success of the Sacramento River Cats back is the fact that it wasn't in downtown Sacramento, but it was right across the river.
Yeah.
So it was a part of that downtown experience. So people could come to see a baseball game and then ultimately be entertained either before and after. In fact, opening night, I grabbed a beer with some friends and in old Sacramento, walked across the bridge, got to see a game. So it starts with the experience. So first, where do you put a stadium?
Yeah.
And for success in sports, and you're seeing it across the country right now, put stadiums where people are ultimately going to. Don't put them in Greenfield. No disrespect to the folks in Springdale at all, because, that was a bet at the time. 49 wasn't even built.
No. Yeah.
Right?
That was the bet that they made. And unfortunately, just for them, things just panned out differently. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. We're going to support them nonetheless.
Absolutely.
But really, how do you put a stadium? By the way, soccer is only a 2-hour event.
Yeah.
Baseball is doing better, but they're still at 3 hours, just under 3 hours on average.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're only 2 hours, people want to be entertained between 4 and 5 hours. And that's across the board. Everyone knows it. How do you put the stadium in a location that that extends their experience beyond the event itself?
Yep.
If you can do that, you have a recipe for success. So obviously, I knew the region enough. But when we came here, it said, okay, where are people coming? Where are they familiar? Where are they familiar to coming?
Yeah.
Number one, where's our demographic live?
Yeah.
Demographics 18 to 34-year-old. And how do we actually put a stadium that can actually represent the entire community? Because we're not just here for one city in the community, we're here for the entire region.
Correct.
And then how can it be some typical real estate things, from a location standpoint? Can it be seen by the freeway? Can people get in and out? Is there parking? All that type of stuff, right? And so we hired Colliers, Steve Lange at Colliers, to actually help us do a study, and ultimately said, you guys need to be in Springdale. I said, okay, here's the program we need. We need 7.5 acres to build a stadium. We need some parking. We need all this. Come back to me and tell me where you think the best property is. And fortunately, he found a property that the Hunt family owned, and frankly, we couldn't have found a better location. I think it's the last opportunity of this size in what has become your living room in this community, right? I wouldn't say your living room, because living rooms are more formal. It's more like the family room where the TV is and where we have food man, if we can put a stadium in a location where people can be entertained before and after events, it gets people to want to come back, especially the non-soccer fans. We're going to get those soccer purists, right?
Yeah.
Who love the game. But it's important for us to actually get everybody. So the people that come and experience it, if we can create an experience that they love inside of the venue, and they can extend their entertainment around that, we've created a night for them that they're going to enjoy, and they're going to want to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
They're not just going to come to one game a year. We may not get them as season ticket holders, but if they come to 3-4 games a year, we've hit a home run.
That's a home
so
run.
That's create an experience that ultimately that people can really enjoy themselves, feel a part of, and just have a great time.
Yeah.
And that, fortunately, is not as difficult as people might think it is, if you put the stadium in the right location.
And I know, you mentioned Springdale. That's where, I know a lot of people thought, that were involved in the project in the early days, like Chris and people from the league that he was talking to. There was a lot more larger lots available down in that location, and it was potentially, some could argue a little bit more centrally located in the corridor. I still think we're in a really good spot in Rogers in the Pinnacle Hills district, but that really was the selling point when you came in was, guys, this is where everything is happening. This is the living room. This is, or to your point, the family room, the less formal. This is where people are coming to be entertained, and that's what we need. And so we talk about it all the time, but it's because we're so stinking excited about the location that we were able to land on, and excited to put a product there that is going to be something that is going to bring the whole community together and create some really exciting memories for everybody. So.
Yeah, and again, no disrespect to Chris or the league. The leagues don't really know the communities like we will, the people that operate these teams. But I'm not thinking about developing a franchise and then moving on. I want to be a part of something long term, and if I want to put my name to it, it's going to be successful, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make it be successful. So let's start making some decisions that ultimately help us get there, and that was number one. So
absolutely,
we're blessed. I mean, and the Hunt family, wow, just incredible people to allow us to actually purchase the land, and and they were holding it for something like this,
something special,
and so it's really kind of cool to kind of see where this is all going.
Well, awesome. I think we'll end on one more point here.
I wonder if I can real quick about community, because
that's what I was going to say is let's talk about it.
Yeah. So go ask your question.
I was just going to say, what can people expect from the club in terms of engaging in the community and talk about that magic in that relationship that forms when it's done right? Because I think that's really the end goal is, we're here to make, we've said it multiple times, we'll keep saying it, we're here to make Northwest Arkansas a better place to live, work, and play through the beautiful game as our vessel. And so talk a little bit more about your experience there and what people can expect and the magic that happens when that's done right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And to be honest with you, this is why I'm continue to be in this, because I got to live through it. I saw what the Sacramento Republic Football Club meant to Sacramento. Keeping in mind, I had developed the AAA baseball team there, and then we meant more to the city, the region there than the baseball team who had been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Or at that time, 14 years, meant to the community. We sold more merch in year one than the Sacramento Kings did.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, and so... and the reason is because we started asking a lot of questions. Everything that we went out to is what can we do for you? How can we tell us, first of all, we want to know why you love Northwest Arkansas. If you haven't told us yet, go to our website and please, we're listening. Fill out our surveys and tell us what you think we can do to make this community a better place. We're going to start off with great matches and like I said, and just a lot of fun. But it's ultimately, how do we make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Keeping in mind you have a demographic that is our key demographic. Doesn't mean that we don't get the 70-year-olds that come or the 5-year-olds. We do, but the core demographics, the 18 to 34-year-old.
Yeah.
First of all, they're choosing brands that they feel that they can have an association with, that they look at their values and they want to have a connection to their values.
Yes.
Second of all, generally, they all want to be active in the community and do something. Thirdly is they're young, they don't know how.
Right.
So we're providing an avenue for that. And it starts with the supporters group, right? Supporters group will, who I know you're going to be speaking to here in the near future. If we can develop a strong supporters group that's got a voice, they're going to have a voice. It doesn't mean they're under us.
Right.
We have a relationship, but, they're their own body. And we're going to have a lot of respect for them, and hopefully they have a lot of respect for us back. and we'll hold each other to some standards, but it starts there, right? And then it starts with our fans, right? But, as I shared with, as we both have shared in the community, we don't want to stop at just bringing 2 professional teams here.
No.
You guys as a region are traveling to Kansas City and to Dallas almost regularly for soccer.
Yep.
When we could be hosting events here. Why don't we build a sports complex here, 24 fields, that ultimately is driving every time they're doing the high school tournament up in Kansas City and the 5-year-old tournaments down in Dallas. Let's have the 13-year-old tournaments here. Right. Let's drive some traffic to this region and use that as an economic development tool.
Absolutely.
To get people to come and visit this region more, open up the region more, and because once people spend time here, they fall in love with it, right?
And that's what we constantly hear about, whenever people are traveling. Oh, you live in Northwest Arkansas? Just visit once. And then they come and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, they get it.
Yep.
So, whatever we can do to continue that trend and just get more people in and understand the magic of NWA through the beautiful game again as the vessel in multiple different avenues to do that. I think that's just going to be something that's going to be so special.
Well, I want to give you an example of what the Portland Timbers do. Now, this wasn't us. This was Merritt, but, he has, a 2-week program of, multiple events where the fans participate in going out and with the team, with the staff, with ownership to go out and make improvements to the community, literally park building, home building, and just, having some ownership in the community.
Getting your hands dirty.
Exactly. Not just talking, but acting. And that's so many of professional sports teams, especially at the highest levels, that they don't do that. They're really media plays. They're too big for that. They'll go out and send a player out to a little to do a turkey, thing at Thanksgiving, but they don't really get their hands dirty. And it's hard for them to even be able to do that. It's not for us because that's how we build relationships. We're in the relationship business. So going out into the communities and participating in the communities, being asked to participate in the communities and participating when and where we can. And making a difference when and where we can. So we have to be select. We can't participate in everything. But we'll have a process where we can all decide, how do we make a difference and what's the biggest difference we can make with the resources we have and then hopefully make that happen. So, and magic starts there, right? It's not, when you're coming to a match real quickly and having a great time sitting next to somebody and growing the game together and experiencing that is one thing. You can, side by side, digging ditches and, it's completely other. So we will really, really lean into the community. The other thing is we want to listen. We want people to participate. And I think in a couple of weeks, we're going to get a few of we're going to actually get asked about the name to the community.
Probably around the time that this will air.
So we want, officially now, we are now taking names. We want, we've heard some ideas, don't get us wrong. We have some thoughts, but we don't want to name the team what we think. We wanted to name it what our fans think.
It's the community's, it's your team, name it.
Right.
So, well, that's fantastic, Warren. I love it. I think we'll end it there for today's episode. Thank you guys all for listening, and thank you especially, Warren, for joining us today and imparting your wisdom, sir, and sharing your story. And this isn't the last time we see you, obviously. You're here for the long haul, sir. So
and thanks for all the work that you're doing here, Wes, and helping to build this club. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. So, guys, remember, for more information about the club, please, Warren already mentioned it, but visit USLArkansas.com. Fill out a fan survey. We want to hear from you, and we mean it when we say we want to hear from you. Sign up for the club newsletter. Learn about all the latest happenings. Follow us on social media at USL Arkansas. We're really active and trying to get out in the community even now. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button, give us a good rating, comment, let us know your thoughts, and follow Pitch to Pro on all major social media channels and podcast platforms. Until next time, guys, cheers, Northwest Arkansas.